Hello everyone, I'm Majestic Dad. Welcome to the video. This is just a guide on trade ups in CSGO. I've been doing trade ups and trading and opening cases in CSGO on and off for years. I've cashed out a few times and cashed back in again. I've not got super good inventory at the moment, but I've still got a couple of cool items. This isn't new, it's just I've taken it off the market just to show off that lovely leopard skin, leopard print. As you can see, what a beautiful item that is. But yeah, if you want to get some cool items, trading up is a pretty good way to do it. You do need a little bit of money to start off with, but as I've found, it's not too difficult to make money from it. You can cash out at some point and then hopefully you've made profit. Sometimes you might make a loss, but it's a gamble. What I will say is it's much more reliable than opening cases, so I definitely prefer trading up these days to opening any cases. The majority of people will probably know what a trade up is, and they've probably done tons before, so feel free to skip on a little bit if you don't want to know the basics of what trading up is all about. But in essence, it's a simple process of combining lots of different items and then doing a trade up. So I'm going to show you exactly what that might look like here. And one of those. And if I combine 10 items of the same quality, and they need to be stat track as all, there's be stat track or non-stat track as well, and then just proceed, and then I trade up to a better item. That's the theory anyway. I'll go through different types of trade up. You can do cheap ones if you just got a couple of dollars. You can do cheap ones. You can do more expensive ones that are not very high risk but not very high reward, and you can do some pretty crazy things, which guys like Sparkles and people like that will show you more about. I can show you a calculator, so there's a couple of really good sites that will help you in doing trade ups, and I'll talk a bit more about where you can get the items to trade up, a few different examples of that, and then talk about a couple of example trade ups that I like, and I'm going to be doing more of these over time, so keep an eye on the channel and subscribe, do whatever you need to. Other than that, I just want to show you something that I enjoy. So one of the first things I want to cover is the difference between the new theory and old theory. This is where we get a little bit nerdy with the trade ups. So no one knows exactly how Valve calculates their trade up algorithms, but apart from Valve obviously, but there's the old theory is based on the practice that anything that you trade up, so in this example I've got 5 Prisma 2 collection and I've got 5 Fracture. Each one of those collections has 3 different items that I can trade up to, so 3 Prisma 2 and there's 3 Fracture items. In the old theory, every collection, depending on how many items you put in, had the same amount of outcomes. So it would always assume that if I put one of a particular item in, whether it has 1 outcome or 3 outcomes, the percentage would always be 10%. It's been shown, and I've definitely seen it over the years, that actually that's not true. And the new theory, which isn't really new anymore, I think even that's probably 4 or 5 years old, is based on the fact that the number of outcomes actually affects the probability of what you're going to get. So in this example, this is a really good trade up that I like. This is probably my favorite one to do at the moment, which I'm going to do a little bit later. This is based on the Dust 2 collection, which I've got some items from here. They have 1 outcome. All of these 8 items have 1 outcome, whereas these 2, the Ancient and the Control collection, they both have 3 outcomes each. So these 3 are Control, these 3 are Ancient. What that means is that even though I've got 8 Dust 2 items, there's actually only a 57% chance rather than an 80% chance that I will get a Dust 2 item. This obviously works in my favour because I don't really want the Amber Fade. I do want all of these other items. So even though I've only got 2 items, which you'd think would be just 20% success, I've actually got more like 43 or 42.86, whatever it be. So we're getting towards 50%. To make a profit. So next what I want to talk about is the types of trade up. There's loads of videos which will tell you how to make low risk trade ups, which are very low cost and low risk, These are great trade ups if you've not got a lot of capital to put into trading up. Also, if you're quite risk averse, you don't really want to spend a lot of money and lose it. And these are some really good trade ups to do. The difficulty is that they often involve trying to get some really low float items. There's a few ways you can try and get those, which we'll cover in a minute, but when they involve buy orders, they can sometimes be quite tricky to get because lots of people are trying to compete to do the same thing. So yeah, they're the most common ones that people will do, but they're sometimes the most competitive and most time consuming to put together. Not all the time, but sometimes. This is an example of one that I've got here, which shows you some items. These prices are a little bit higher probably now than they are when I saved this particular one, but this is a good example of quite a low cost-ish. There's a lot you can do for around £2, but this one's a little bit more expensive, but there's quite a high chance that you've got success in this one. So there's only about 30%, and even this really compared to some is a bit more risky, but there's quite a high chance you can come away with making a bit of profit on this one. The next type, which is slightly more risky, but again, still reasonably safe, is a trade up you can do, which will be a lot more for cost. So this is £100 in, but there's only what 15% of items that you really don't want. Again, some of these items are actually worth more than they show here. So there's only a few items here that would actually make you a decent sized loss of half your money, but there's quite a few here that you'd at least break even, or maybe even a little bit more. So some of these are more expensive than they are than they show here, and you've obviously got still a decent percent chance to make a lot of money. So 30% chance to more than double your money in these. This is actually around £230 now, and I think that's probably still about £250. So again, there's still a risk involved, but it's quite small. You're not going to be making 10 times your money, but again, you're not going to be losing, everything. So this is a kind of middle of the road risk. This is the kind of thing that I do. And then we've got the big daddy trade ups. These are the ones that I do not do. I've tried a few that sort of 10 and 20% before, nowhere near this expensive, but generally they just don't go in my favor. And so I've just gone off them completely. There are some really good streamers. Sparkles is a fantastic streamer. He does loads of super risky trade ups because he's just a madman. And there's lots of other streamers like Watch Games TV and people like that do these sorts of trade ups. There's one item that goes in that's really expensive, £500 or so. There's a few items which will only have one item. If you remember, we talked about the new theory earlier that they can trade up to, which is this horrible Victoria. And so you've always got a 10% chance unless you can afford to put a few more in. You'll see people like Sparkles actually hit these, which is incredible, but then sometimes it does take a few to get there. But these are very high risk, but as you can see from the value of the gun gear, they're very high reward. So you decided you want to do some trade ups, and you're trying to work out what you need to do to figure out what to use. You know the item that you want perhaps, or maybe just looking for things at a profit. Lots of sites out there that can help you to calculate these. They've got some figures which are pretty accurate now. In fact, they're very accurate when you see some of the outputted floats that you'll get. I'm a really big fan. I'm not affiliated at all, but I'm a big fan of tradeup Spy. It's really good UI, just really simple, couple of nice things, a few things that they could sort out, but generally really easy to use site for calculating trade ups. There's a couple of others like CSGO Exchange and CSGO Float database and things like that, but this is my favorite at the moment. So in the example I showed you earlier, if I want to go for that gun gear, I could just select a collection that I wanted. So I'm going to stick with this collection for my fillers. Just pop in a float value and a cost. So if I wanted to just put a cost in there that I paid, I could just do that. But I'll just keep the standard cost in for now, and I'll put a few of those in. And then we'll just go crazy, and we'll go to Norse, which is under that one, and put a few of these Mjolnirs in. And then we can see my calculated trade up cost, which is pretty insane, at least for me anyway. I can see the profitability, so basically how much I'm predicted to get. And then I've obviously got the potential outcomes. So I've got an 80% chance that I'm going to lose pretty much all my money here, which if it was me personally, I think I'd cry at that. But we've got a 20% chance that I can make an absolute ton of money back on that. Really good tool. You can save your trade ups. You can see simulations over a lot of time. You can complete trade ups and see how you're doing later as well. So yeah, lots of really good things to do on that, but there's a few. I'll put a few more in the comments. Another tool which is really useful is CSGO Float Checker. And I also use the Steam Market Helper as well. You can enable them so that they only will read data from Steam and from the sites that you need to. So there's been some security issues with those, but I'm pretty sure if you just restrict them to just the Steam-based sites, you should be fine. The really good thing about these tools is you can see floats, you can get image and screenshots and things like that. So there's some really nice ways to do that, but being able to see floats quickly is really important. I couldn't really imagine not doing trade ups and not using this add-on. You'd have to go into each item and inspect it, and it would be such a pain. So I think that's a really good one that I'd recommend as well. So when it comes to getting some of the items that you need, there's a few different ways you can buy these. The most obvious one is to buy via the Steam market. Another really good way, again not affiliated with any of these sites, is a site like Skinport. I've also used Bitskins before. There's a couple of other sites, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's loads of sites like CS Money is another one, but Skinport is my favourite at the moment. It's a really good way to, I mean this is great whether you want to buy skins or buy games really, but if you wanted to, for example, buy this AK-47 Vulcan, you could buy it for £82 from Skinport. You could sell this for probably 110 or more, because I know these are around about 115, 120 at the moment on Steam. So you could actually get a lot more money than you put in. And another option here, which is in the same concept as Skinport, but this is a little bit different because it's I guess slightly harder to do, is a site called Buff163. This is a site based in China. Only be able to top up with if you've got a Chinese bank account, as far as I'm aware. The best way to actually top credit up on this is to actually just use items to sell. You don't have to trade them like you do with other clients like CS Money and Skinport. You just put your item on there and then you sell it and you trade it from there, and then you can buy other items. The advantage with this site is that they're massively cheaper than most other places. So this blue phosphorus, for example, that's around about £99. I mean, that's £130 on the Steam market at the moment, so it's a lot cheaper than you could buy for anywhere else. So onto some example trade ups. So I've shown a couple. I've got a few more coming over the next few days, but this is one that I wanted to show at the moment that I really like. It's a low cost. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I consider this pretty low risk because the lowest or the cheapest item that you can get back is around £8.30 roughly, and the trade up cost is only about £11.20. You've got nearly a 50% chance to make a profit, and in some of these cases these are really good profits too. So we'll go and do some of these. So without further ado, let's do our first one, and it's a good start. Cherries and berries, 0.14. So this is going to go straight up into a trade up I'm going to do in a couple of days. Time for number 2. One down, one to go. Let's do it. Oh, we got 2 of 2. That is really good. Chuffed, chuffed, chuffed. And that is factory new as well. Awesome. Plan is in a few days that I can hopefully not make another run and hide. My plan is to try and get the AK-47, which I've now tried 3 or 4 times, and I keep getting other things. But I'm going to try and sell this run and hide so that I can do this trade up in the next couple of days. To keep an eye out, and I'll catch you then.